Oh, me too. Oh. I would love that.
Hello. Okay. Oh. That's fine. My music's on my other thing. That's fine. That's chill. No problem. Okay. Ugh. Sorry. I'm awake! Pretty much, essentially. Oh my gosh. Welcome to Autism Peer Support with me, Jane. I am autistic and didn't know for most of, well, I suspected it at some point, but yeah, I did not get diagnosed until 2019. Which I've actually, it's kind of nice having this much time with the diagnosis and with all of that confirmed. It is better. It is way better to know, like extremely much better. Okay, where are we? All right, let me get over here. What? Oh, here we go. Okay. Good morning, Comet Girl. How are you? And by how are you, I mean, where's your affect at? My affect, I just took my meds. I will not be awake until the Vyvanse and caffeine hits, but I take caffeine pills. I don't know about you, but I like to have the exact same amount of caffeine because it is a drug and that's fine by me. Oh boy. Okay, let's get this show on the road. Yeah, take your meds. Then you can fill in the cozy pill on the tracker. Which is one of the more fun ones to be able to fill in. Also, my dog is on a mountain of clothing. Mount Cozy. Pretty cute. I need to put clothes away. I'm like, geez, that's a lot of clean laundry. My dog's all the way up there. He's having a ball. He's like, I've arrived at the summit. Oh man. Okay. All right. Welcome to the 28th of March, apparently. When to plant flowers for spring? Test your flower power. I don't know shit about flowers. I really don't. I'm like, they're pretty! They're colorful and pretty! I don't know. I got nothing, man. Got nothing. We worked graveyard last night. Holy crap. So I've been awake, so I'll skip my Adderall this morning and just take my antidepressants. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yep. That's, you know what? That's the nice thing about, it's funny because it's like, it's ADHD medication. I track with, just the, I may have already told you this, but I track with just the, inattentive symptoms. My zippity zappity zoodah thing is just, I have like a dummy fast processing speed, so my brain is like just fast, but I'm not really like hyper active, so I don't have like, if you test me or screen me for it, I don't have the hyperactivity type of vibe, and it's like, it's weird. So but I respond well to ADHD meds, right? So it's like, well, at least Vyvanse has been really nice. But I do a pretty small dose of it, actually. That's been very supportive. But it's, the issue is the memory, right? Like, my working memory is just not there. Yeah, so it's like, I think it's fair to say that, like, if it's fair to say that I'm, like, somewhere, I'm cool with saying that I'm on the spectrum, but I like the inattentive subtype might actually be distinctive enough in some cases that it's a different condition. So there's I just don't know. But I tend to it's a weird thing to talk about because it's like Vyvanse helps me. Absolutely. And it's nice that the thing that I wanted to, all of these tangents to say that, like, the thing that I wanted to add on there. Right. Exactly. You have to, right. Exactly. Like, but yeah, like the nice thing is, like, if you do have a day where it's like, I need to be able to rest, you can just skip it and you'll just be sleepy. And you can just nap it out. It's really not a big deal. Granted, if you get, you know, an issue with your medication and the pharmacy, then it's like, okay, great, I'm going to be exhausted today. This sucks. But it's not the worst medication to have to skip because it's like, well, I'll just be nap mode. Hi, Shade. But getting back to what I was saying, yeah. So the difference between no Vyvanse Jane and Vyvanse Jane is tremendous in terms of being able to use working memory in ballet class. And I've done so much ballet. Like, that was a career thing for me, right? Ballet bar. So ballet bar is turning into a little bit of a coat rack right now. Don't mind that. But yeah, to finish my sentence, eventually I get there. In ballet class, once I had tried Vyvanse, I was like, oh my god, I can actually do some of this combination right back, because otherwise I had to do all these mental tricks to keep the combination accessible long enough that I could memorize any of it. Like, it was ridiculous. So my short-term memory works a bit better with Vyvanse. It's never ever gonna work normally, but I can hold things long enough that I can get it into the part of my mind that I can actually work with it. I don't think I have the normal channels when it comes to sequence learning. That's the issue. But it's sticky enough that I can get to manipulate the information. Whereas before, it was like, well, you know, that sticky note thing where it's like you stick it to the wall and it's like, it's got slime on it. It's just like, okay, I don't know what your topic today is, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on CBT therapy. I would love to talk about that. Okay, cognitive behavioral therapy. How much exposure to that have I had? A whole bunch! So much! So, to give you some backdrop, I ended up seeing a therapist. Well, first of all, my first exposure to a therapist, I was in, like, elementary school, because there was one on staff at the school that I went to, and they were trying to figure out why me and my brother were late all the time. And this was I went to a gifted learning disabled school, so there's that, but they wanted to make sure that our parents weren't abusing us. That's great. I think that was partly my fault, that was one of the things that they wanted to screen us for, because I also was running around with purple lipstick that I was turning into bruises, because that was just something I was interested in doing. So I may have accident. It's a mess, you know. Anyways, I got to talk to the nice lady, but everything was chill. And then I've seen I've talked to the school counselor twice, 2 different ones. I don't know what I was exposed to at that point. And then my official start of therapy was like 18. Well, is that right? Is it 17 and a half, 18? I think it was 18. I was 18. I think. Somewhere around there. I think it was like end of high school. Yeah. End of high school. And that, I definitely had some exposure to CBT. And it's been like interwoven. I'd say like almost all of the therapists I have spoken to used that as part of their modalities. Towards the end of it all, I've moved further and further away from it. I think the useful parts of CBT for autistic people is that we do need to reframe some of our thoughts to find opportunities, because we experience more failure than your average Joe, and our failures are more unusual. Like, the problem with CBT is sometimes it'll minimize. Like, it'll be like, everybody experiences this, and everybody da-da-da-da-da. So sometimes it compares you to other people too much as a strategy. Like, or at least my experience with therapists applying it. Yep. That's it. Gaslighting. Yep. So I think the problem with CBT, in my experience, is it talks about neurotypical people and their expectations and experiences, and assumes that we are having the same problems as them, which we aren't. So lightly sprinkling some of the CBT skill of reframing, sure, that part can be helpful, but for different reasons than it was intended. And then if you get into the rest of the structure of CBT, it starts to basically like, yeah, minimize and gaslight, absolutely, and kind of like create this thing where it's like, well, don't you think you're exaggerating? I'm like, I mean, kind of, but I'm also drowning. Like, look, I made here, I'll show you a drawing. You'll understand this. Hold on, let me get my notebook. I wanted to take notes today anyway, so we might spend some time transfer notes into a notepad thing. It's part of our stuff to do today. Where are you, notebook? Seriously, where are you? Uh-oh. Oh no. Did I lose it? Oh god. Yeah, so I've had enough exposure with different therapists messing around with it. Yeah, wait till you see this. Wait, okay. Y'all. Here. Okay, I'm gonna have to turn some lights on, I'm sure, so you can actually see it. Hold on a second. One second, I have to make sure this is working. Okay, I think that's, oh, the screen's on it. There we go. It says, I've spent my whole life almost drowning. I made a line, and I realized it looked like water, and then I just started drawing this. It's hard to read, but yeah, it says, I spent my whole life almost drowning. So. There you go. So, yeah. So what I think is happening with us, I'm going to switch back to this in a little bit, but what I think is happening with us is we're trying to explain what's going on to us without access to language around our emotions, because we live in that different affective reality because our sensory amplitude is totally different. And then what ends up happening is we're talking to the therapist and they're like, don't you think you're exaggerating? I'm like, I don't know how to tell you how I feel. I am trying to tell you that I am in an emergency and I don't know how to explain this to anyone. So I'm using this expressive language, and I should be rewarded for trying to explain a feeling, for fuck's sake, because I have clear signs of alexithymia. Blah, 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 you know. All right, let's go back here. Do you remember when my psych asked if I had at least 6 2+ weeks of periods of depression? Yes, ASD has social issues, for fuck's sake. I can't explain this. Yeah, exactly. I was like, I deserve a little like statuette and a plaque and like a fucking ribbon and like, you know, like some confetti, because look at how hard I'm trying. Yeah, I remember having 6 of those before, like, 10 years old, right? Yeah. For fuck's sake, yeah. Okay, let's see, let's go back. Let me get caught up. I had a bad reaction to CBT and my ex-therapist and only therapist break up with me you're in 40s undiagnosed. Yeah, so my opinion of CBT in general is like the reframing aspect can be useful for autistics, but it should be put in the context of autism, which is going to be totally different. So the purpose of the reframing will be totally different. In my opinion, the purpose of the reframing for us should be to get us into the part of our brain that functions well, which is our declarative memory, and not our non-declarative memory. So the purpose of reframing for us is to find the thing that we're excited to learn about. So basically, we're reframing to locate our special interest, and we're reframing to notice that we're building a model of the universe in kind of a meta way, and to see what we've learned through the experience for our model, right? So what out of this experience helps us to more accurately create a representation of reality. Great. We love that shit. You know what I mean? So like, especially us like girls, women on the spectrum, we're pushed into the instead of little professor, little psychologist role, because we're forced to figure out people more, or else we get ridiculous consequences. Nobody's like, oh wow, that guy, that gal over there, well, she's just a little Tesla. No, they don't do that to us. Not yet. I mean, maybe eventually we'll get some sort of equity, and that will be some of the response to us, but it typically hasn't been. So any of us that are adults now, we didn't get that shit. We got the other shit. We got some bullshit. So we had to figure out more of these social skills, but that means that we have a little bit more interest typically in the human brain and social behavior from a sort of clinical standpoint, you know. So if we use the reframing from CBT to bring it back in alignment with our interest in discovering general truths about the universe and the issues that we're having being a reflection of the universe, then we don't take it personally. You know what I mean? So that part can work. You just have to put it in the context of you are autistic, and why is reframing important for us? Different reason. We're not reframing to calm ourselves down. We're reframing to get back to an objective that we can actually enjoy and see the purpose of. Because I'm never going to understand the objective of social bullshit. I'm never going to. That's fine. I can sort of meta get it. Like, I'm like, oh, if that part of your brain works, then there is this like calming effect, and like there's all of these advantages, like you're more predictable to each other, you can relax. I don't get to have that. Oh my god, just for you, Shade? That's amazing. Aw, a wolf lurk emoji in Discord. Aw, you're gonna have to use it all the time in mine. Plop it well, not everywhere, but like, plop it where appropriate. No, be happy. That's not even irrational, that's totally rational. You're experiencing autistic joy. A special interest thing was validated by the outside world at random. Hooray! Oh, they recolored Rowan's lurker emoji. Oh, and it looks like Rowan's, and yay! So fun. Oh, yeah, we have a Discord. Oh my god, why are you not in it? Oh my god, let me get it to you. Hold on. You should be in it. So there is one little thing to get into the Discord comment, but you will enjoy it, and it will be very good and helpful. It's something called The Inner Ring by C.S. Lewis. You can either read it yourself or have me read it to you as a banana, because who doesn't love that? Let's see, let me find the Discord link. Where the fuck I guess I should go here. I was like, maybe that's not the best way to get it. We'll have Nightbot or Stream Elements or something set up to give these links, but let me invite you. Anyways, so there'll be like a little screening thing. We'll also need to know, well, I already know where you're at, but we have 2 generations in there. We have like Generation K, which is all our people that are like about 27 or younger. And then we have Cosmic Bananas. You'd be a Cosmic Banana. And that's just so that younger people have some space and they don't have to like parentify themselves. So that's, but most of the spaces are shared, but there's a couple that are distinct for that purpose. We're constantly teaching boundaries. Okay, copy, come to the Discord. Cosmic banana. Cosmic bananas have access to something called the pit of despair. That's when we realize we have and always live in a pit of despair. And then there's another area that's cookies. We live in a pit of despair, but we have cookies. We bake cookies. We've baked every shape of cookies. We put every kind of frosting on the cookies. That one's smiling. That one looks like a dog. Like, we just eat cookies all day long because we live in the pit of despair. And then, you know, occasionally we like try to chip our way out. But yeah, it doesn't take very long to do, and also the part of the how you answer it, we get a sense of like, look at your ping. Oh, that chance could be now. Let me see. But yeah, yeah. When you answer the questions too, it lets us know kind of where you are with You're in your 40s, so I can tell you this. Like, we're also like checking where you are with like reading verbal comprehension, depending on how. So then we can also just be noting that, because obviously with autism, it goes all the way from hyperlexia, totally obsessed with everything being absolutely precise because declarative memory has attached itself to words in your mind. So it's all the way to like, you may have some struggles with verbal reading comprehension that we should be mindful of. So we try to be aware of that spectrum as well. So some of it is noting how that is going. Where am I? Is it here? I don't know where it is. Wait. Yay, you have a ticket. Do. Okay. Where's my ping at? I'm looking for the ping. Which chat is it in? Why is it not working? Hold on. I think I've just not located it. Welcome. I love my welcome. Did you see the welcome photo? It's my banana on the cover of Vogue. That's so I have kind of multiple bananas at this point, but I have two main bananas. Banana one is the banana, right? Its first name is the, last name banana. Then there's the Tinder banana, which is the one that's on the cover of Vogue there. Stream chat? Is it in stream chat? Oh my god! Aww, it's so cute. So cute. Okay, great. Oh, let's do tracking. We should do tracking. What have I done? Oh no. What have I done? Oh Lord. Good Lord. Okay, we're gonna have to fix that. Jesus Christ. No? Shit. Okay, it's down one. Oh, whoopsie. No. Shit. No. There we go. Ha ha ha. Whoops. Whoopsies. I'll remove that now. My bad. Comet Cosmic Banana. Hell yeah. Kyle can use it in Astro too. Hell yeah. They changed an emoji to that for me. Oh, that's so sweet. I'm glad that the Astro people are being like rad. Happy about that. Okay. Let's get going on our tracking. Sorry, I'm rubbing my nose like all the time. I have allergies this morning. Ooh, Bidicka to track. Ooh, what's that? I don't know what that is. Do you like it? Whatever you want to use is fine. Again, I want to emphasize this as many times as possible. The tools that I use, like, modify them to make them work. Gamified tasks. Oh, I got something for you, bud. So I've been working with ChatGPT on something called, in fact, why don't we introduce that today? Why don't we work on that today? So I believe that declarative memory is intact for us, yes, but non-declarative is not. So what we should be doing is converting things into declarative memory, which is basically mental time travel and facts. So I call it superimposition, and it's very easy to prompt GPT to do it, Chat GPT to do it, and then, yep, superimposition story prompt. You can make that for different tasks that you need to do, and you can have different worlds and different chats. You can have a meta chat area for them to just like discuss techniques and strategies that you're using in your superimposition. And let me see if I need to access Chat GPT on here. Hold on. Let me go see if I can see them on here, which I should be able to. Okay, log in. I guess I have to be a subscriber. They're experiencing high traffic right now. A pilot subscription plan. I guess I'm gonna have to get that. That's a bummer. Weird. Let me check my other one right now. I guess I can't look at it until it's not at capacity right now. It's weird. Huh? Wait, what? How did I get onto it last time? How am I on it? Log in? Oh, here we go. Continue with Google. Welcome back. Thank you. It should be this one, right? I think. It's a free research preview. Next. Next. Done. Okay, I'm back. Okay, here we go. So, check this out. So this is what I'm doing. Superimposition explained. This one, I'm in a fantasy world. Sorry, I think I can rename these. Can I rename these? Oh, here we go. Let's see. Let's do Elven Village superimposition. Okay, this one is, let me get this figure one. I think this is the Star Trek one. Yep. Star Trek superimposition. And let me do okay. Here we go. You can do that. So let me explain superimposition. I might actually knock out my music for a second. Hold on. Okay, so basically, hello, I have been working with you in discrete chats on a special concept. May I explain it so that we can start working on it in this new chat? Hello, I'm glad to hear that you have a special concept you'd like to work on. Please feel free to explain it to me. I'll do my best to assist you. I'm building a new concept I'm calling superimposition. Superimposition in this new context means for a human with non-declarative memory impairments, uses, I need to fix that. declarative, episodic, and pragmatic memory with the help of an AI to do tasks in their life via a prompt that creates an imaginary world superimposed over the real world. Does this make sense? Yes, I understand your concept of superimposition. It involves using declarative memory, episodic and pragmatic, to assist with tasks for individuals with non-declarative memory impairments. The AI would prompt the individual and create an imaginary world superimposed over the real world, allowing them to complete tasks more effectively. Please let me know. Okay, so let me give you another one. I think the Star Trek one. Oh, this somehow didn't save. Whoopsie. My bad. The Star Trek one I think is the one where they did a really good job understanding it. Okay, so let me find where we discussed it. Burp. Actually, maybe it's in this one. Maybe it's in this one. I think it's in this one. Yeah. So yes, your explanation makes sense. Based on your description, it sounds like you are proposing the use of an augmented reality AR system to help individuals with non-declarative memory impairments perform everyday tasks. The AR system would superimpose an imaginary world over the real world, which could serve as a prompt to trigger declarative memories and help the individual complete the task. I'm like, yes, AI! Like, also, this thing is trained on a whole bunch of academic resources, so it's like that summary is very intelligent. I'm like, yes, that is exactly what we're trying to do here. The use of an AI to assist with this process could provide additional support and customization to the system, allowing it to adapt to the individual's specific needs and preferences. Overall, this concept of superimposition could have potential applications in a variety of fields, including healthcare, education, and entertainment. Amazing. So this is it. I'm also going to grab this because I could probably use this as part of a prompt in the future. Let me just grab that. Anyways, so that's what I'm working on. And you can use this for tasks. So let's go ahead and program in with prompting. It's pretty simple. It's like as far as programming goes. You're just talking in natural language. Okay, let me see. Chat GPT summary. Okay. Let's go over to the Elven one. So the Elven Village one, I'm working on a journal prompt. So the journal is like a magical book. Like, look at this. Okay. Can you make a little more of a story about the journal? Can it have magical properties that can help me further motivate me to write? Certainly. The queen leads you to a hidden corner of the garden where a small pond sits, its surface shimmering with a magical light. She kneels down by the edge of the pond and dips her hand in the water, causing ripples to spread across its surface. This is the magical pond of reflection, she explains. It has the power to amplify the magic within your journal to help you connect with your deepest thoughts and feelings. As you look into the pond, you see your reflection staring back at you. But as you start writing in your journal, you notice something strange happening. The words on the page start to glow with a soft light, and you feel a strange energy flowing through you. You look back into the pond and see that your reflection has changed. Instead of seeing yourself as you normally appear, you see yourself surrounded by a magical aura of light. The queen smiles and nods, indicating that you are tapping into the power of the pond of reflection. As you could, like, holy shit. Like, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, so, yeah. Oh, also, where the heck is my chat? Oh, wow, when did you start doing YouTube streaming? I started doing it, like, a month ago? I think a month ago, because I got tired of Twitch's gamer bro vibes. So now I'm over here. Welcome in. But yeah, so I recommend using this you have to explain superimposition and the point of it, and I'm gonna have a space in my Discord around this. So yeah, yep. But that's what I'm doing, is messing with the AI homie. And eventually could be AR, like augmented reality with like visuals and stuff. But for now, it's pretty cool. I think it would help a lot of people. It works, by the way. It freaking works. Don't even ask me exactly how, because I don't understand completely, and nor do I need to. But the basic operation that I'm trying to use as the linchpin is the fact that I think our declarative memory is intact, and converting things that normally would go into procedural, sequential, serial, working memory, move it over to the part that works, and it seems to work. Also, why do I keep doing that? So yeah, you just use ChatGPT. I'm just using the free one. I'll probably have to subscribe at some point so that it never like kicks out on me when it's got high usage volume or whatever. But yeah, bruh. There you go. Pretty neato, I think. Okay, let me get back over here. As well as notes about, what are my notes about? Hold on, I'm trying to remember what it, Look at this. Look at this. Oh my God. Let me zoom in so you can read this a bit better. Bruh. There you go. Your brain just broke? I know. And luckily, I have a favorite pen. I love friction pens, so this is now a quill. This is permanently a magical quill. Like, what the heck, dudes? It works, it works, it works! So, let's go do that now! Wow. I still have to board the train, and I need to tell them, you need to correct things if you know that. So you have to tell them what you're doing. This one, they're still on the last prompt. So since it's ongoing, I'm still learning things too, but that's fine. Amazing. So next time I'm on the train, that's going to be great. Oh my God. And this one, I'm sort of in between worlds. You can have it where you're more immersed in it the whole time. You can have it where you pop into it and out of it. You can ask it to adjust as you go. Like, bruh. So I'll put a superimposition area on my Discord, so we can work on prompting and sharing and stuff. And if you want to share superimposition worlds that you're using, you can share them. Superimposition works. And period. You can also think of it as the Walter Mitty method, because that's basically what we're doing, is creating Walter Mitty alternative superimposed worlds that we can use to motivate us, because we can actually use that part of our brain. Also, the reason we're discouraged from using that part of our brain, I believe, is, first of all, people are afraid of the imagination. Past a certain age, they're like, you can't use imagination anymore. Playing is dumb. I'm like, why? We did it our whole childhood. Why are you telling us that we need to stop now? What are you talking about? But that's because I think they're trying to make people rely on serial memory, sequential memory, because that was probably, like, I don't think this is purposeful. I think this is just a natural outcropping of how factories worked. You needed to think like a factory widget to make the widgets, right? So I think that inadvertently also like pushed us away from recognizing that imagination is actually very helpful. But regardless, I think a different part of your brain is responsible for imagination than the one that is keeping track of, like, where am I in making the widget, right? So you're not a good factory worker, but you're very good with creating interesting relationships between analogous things, right? That's what the imagination does. And also that's what your memory does, right? Your memory consolidates interesting analogous relationships to have a better understanding of what life is and what you should be predicting for, like what you should expect, right? So I'm not saying anything incredibly groundbreaking. I'm sort of just parroting back some truths about the brain that I don't think have been put together, that it would be really important to put together in the case of autism, or anybody else who has non-declarative memory impairments and has to rely on declarative memory and can rely on declarative memory. So I'm saying that we should. I also think there's some anxiety around relying on declarative memory because it reminds people too much of this idea of like schizophrenia, which first of all, what's the big deal? People on the SSD spectrum shouldn't have any more stigma than us, right? ASD or SSD should not, and sometimes there seems to be overlap and intersections there, but I don't experience SSD. I'm not going to accidentally do that to my brain. I don't take hallucinogens. I don't take any triggers for that. I haven't had trauma associated with SSD. So what's the big deal about me using my imagination? So I think we don't understand the difference between different differences in how the brain works with social information. So that's ASD, and differences in how the brain works with sensory information, which is ASD, but also could be something like SSD, where you're seeing sensory information probably recycled into hallucinations, right? So we're, as a society, super uncomfortable with all of those and don't know where the lines are between them. We think it's all just, we still think it's all just crazy people. You're on the SSD spectrum. Yeah. And in that case, like, I think using this would be probably helpful. But also just, I wouldn't be afraid of that. Like, I think that if you're having something where you need a medication, then you just use the medication that we have available while also reducing fear of your brain's different ways of interpreting information. I think the fear of SSD is creating the horrible experiences people are having with it in the West, because in other countries where they don't have that horrible sort of like stigmatized fear, their voices are not saying as awful of things. Yeah. No, you're fine. I get the general vibe of it. So you don't need to think that you're a magical, you're literally a magical person and you're a shaman. You don't have to think all of that stuff either, but just to think that, okay, my brain is doing something a little weird. Some of it I might be able to adjust with the help of a medication route to get to a point where my brain's signals isn't doing something that's incredibly impairing for me. But beyond that, what we really have to think about is we want to have impairments that are not limiting us, even if they can't completely go away, because they are something that we developed with since the beginning of our lives. Like, if your brain developed with a certain region acting differently, right? So our brains aren't exactly broken; they're deviant. But that deviance doesn't mean that they can't be functional. That's what I'm suggesting. So if you have alternative ways to experience functional brains, then that's something I think we should pursue. It's the most important thing is that you stay grounded in reality. And if you have realistic language to talk about the differences in your brain without confabulation, basically, because if you confabulate one brain condition for another, it doesn't help you whatsoever. So I'm not on the SSD spectrum, but I am on the ASD spectrum. And that has led to me like not having a meaningful understanding of my autism, leading to declarative memory strengths and non-declarative memory, like, just, I wouldn't even call it weaknesses. It's kind of just fizzled to nothing. Like, it's sort of like, if I go over there, it's like Chernobyl. It's just, this is a bad place to try to be for me. So moving over into declarative memory is something that we can pursue with a lot of different methods. This is just one suggestion, right? So if this doesn't work for you, that's totally cool, but I still want to, like, well, first of all, I think it might be helpful, but just kind of thinking, like, when you are starting to work with your imagination and your awareness of facts and information, that might be the way that you do some tasks that other people use lists for, right? Other people might use just a basic sort of like numbered ruler for, where they're like, now I'm here, now I'm here, and I'm here. If that isn't working for you, that doesn't mean that you can't convert that sort of task into something that does work for you. So that's what I'm trying to impress upon people. This is working for me. and I'll have an area in my Discord for it. But again, I want to challenge people to come up with some novel tools and systems. And by using those systems, you're going to notice that you're actually more capable than you thought if you don't sit in your impairment and wait for a miracle. That's what I'm saying. Like, we sort of got stuck for multiple reasons, none of which I think are intentional, by the way. I think it was just the luck of, if you're in one of these spectrum conditions, it's rare relative to the general population. So the things that work for other people are not going to work for you. And the volume of other people is just, completely outnumbering you. They're not going to notice that you're eating shit completely. They're just gonna be like, try harder. That makes sense how that happened. I don't really even feel resentment over it, really, because I'm like, it would have taken the kind of effort that we're making up for now to be able to adjust for something that where you have the vast majority of people have this brain that this is a non-issue. Okay, so if you have the brain that this is an issue, where you have an impairment and you've been sitting there waiting for, Tinkerbell to teach you how to fly, you can just get out of that impairment and go into the part of your brain that has been compensating your whole life anyway, and intentionally use it. What that looks like for each individual, I think, is going to be, customized a bit, but there may be some general principles that work for people on the spectrum, and for people on various spectrums, multiple spectrums, right? So that's what I want to encourage you to pioneer, not just like me, but anybody that's coming by my stream and my peer support space and other peer support spaces too. Like, there's an SSD peer support space that I'm aware of that's in kind of like a launching phase, and they should be up pretty soon. And it's going to be different than this, but like I can then, recommend that peer support space as well. I just think that peer support spaces in general for any neurodivergent conditions where we're kind of like in a minority is going to be useful, because it emulates what society has done, where you're in the majority for once, right? You are the bulk of the people there, if not almost exclusively. There'll be some support people, I'm sure, and some people that have a misdiagnosis, but you'll have the bulk of the people will have a brain that's doing something appreciably similar to yours, that you can start to cultivate strategies that are functional, which is what I think just happens naturally when you get a bunch of people with similar brains together in a space discussing what they're doing. So that's sort of where I'm at with it, is that. Now, granted, like some of these spectrums, medication is important. I think medication is very helpful for me, even as somebody just with ASD, an antidepressant, and a light dose of Vyvanse is a great one for me. But yeah, Zoloft can be the one for you amongst other things, and we may find diet to be important at some point. So all of these interventions that we're doing, I also think could naturally flow from using a shared space to create kind of like our own pocket universe where we are the majority and we can work through ideas in the similar way to what a neurotypical person has had the ability to do, but even faster and more efficient, because the neurotypical world was doing this while immersed in imperialism and weird dynamics of like the monarchy and religion. So they've had to do it while also being surrounded by kind of like a superstitious pool of nonsense, where we're at the point where we're leaving that pool of nonsense and moving into really rapidly developing neuroscience. So there's advantages also to what our peer support groups are able to do compared to just the typically developed society that we're in conflict with. We are not having brains. We never had a brain that the typically developed society knows how to work with or utilize or what the hell to do with. So we're not so alien though that we can't have compatible goals. Like, a lot of our goals are similar to that of any other person. We're still humans. You know what I mean? It's just the way that we get to the goals is what's different. So that's what I'm suggesting, is that we have similar goals to other humans because our humanity is intact. It's just that the method of getting to the goals is different because of impairment, right? So that's where I use the analogy of which is easier for people to visualize. Like, this is a material reality up here. This is like a real organ with physical components that are the result of genetics and sometimes injury and all these other stuff that are our impairments. That's where they are. They're just hard to see and to understand. Whereas if you had somebody who was born perhaps without legs, we can understand that that's an impairment, but they may develop amazing ways to move around, and they still have the goal to move around. See what I'm saying? So it's like the goal to move from point A to point B is intact completely in that person. The manner in which they do it is different, and also the manner in which they do it is OP in many ways. It's different, the mechanics are different, and they're able to do things that somebody without that specific, different body map, like the map of their body, the plan of their body is just completely different. So then we're moving in a different way towards the same goals, and maybe moving in ways that a person with the regular body plan can't do, and that are more effective and efficient. So this is kind of where we're at. Yeah, mental health equals health. Our brain is an organ. Yes. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this needs to be a shirt too somehow. We can have a lot of shirts. I am super down for hella merch, because then I can have them at shows too. Let me grab that. I will copy that. I have a file already. And merchandise is something I'll be making on the stream. You feel me? You know why? Because this whole thing is about that. Like, the whole thing that we're doing here is about getting towards goals. So you just gave me a goal that's applicable to my life that I already had. Making cool t-shirt merch idea. Okay, great. Ethan, what's up? Welcome in. I am not clinically trained. Let me give you my backdrop. So there is not currently training for a peer support model for autistic people. There is peer support models for those with substance use disorders and a couple other impairments that are recognized. So I do not have that training. Let me give you what I do have. So I was diagnosed with autism in 2019. It's a little chaotic here. However, I went to a gifted learning disabled program from 1st to 8th grade because my brother was diagnosed with dyscalculia. I've been immersed in sort of this world since I was a kid. My mom is an industrial organizational psychologist with a master's degree. She would have gone for a PhD if she didn't have kids. Also, is very sexist at the time, and they would have told her she was overqualified. I can always run upstairs and ask my mom for some backup. I have been in therapy since like 18 years old, and I currently work with Andrew Vogel, who's a specialist in autism, so I can also check in with him if we have any questions, and he's pretty dope. He does behavioral therapy, but is kind of his own vein of that. I really respect his work. He also has a YouTube. You can check him out, Andrew Vogel. So I've been working with him for almost 2 years. So I apply some of that. And I, let's see, gosh, how to explain this. So I'm kind of like autodidactically taught, but I have a huge interest in neuroscience. My favorite neuroscientist currently and probably forever is Lisa Feldman Barrett. That quote at the top of the screen, the best thing for your nervous system is another human. The worst thing for your nervous system is another human, is Lisa Feldman Barrett. That's the theory of constructed emotion. And I'm also spending time looking at memory, declarative memory, non-declarative memory, to apply that to autism. So I don't have a degree. I went to college for a little bit, but then I was studying ballet, and I went over to a conservatory to finish my ballet training, and I am currently a performer, rapper, and I teach with 2 nonprofits working with kids, teaching rap and some other aspects of music, and yeah, that's what I do. So I'm extremely weird. I would appreciate clinical training to an extent, but I'm not sure what I would do with it. And the idea behind this peer support space for autistic people or people on the ASD spectrum generally, as well as other neurodivergent people or just regular people who find this useful, is that we're coming up with a couple of tools that might work better for a brain that doesn't have the standard way of getting things done. So I think what's happening with autistic people is our learning and doing is different, but it's different in that we use something exclusively that most people use. sometimes preferentially through training, but usually people fluidly switch between what we always use, which is, I'm going to argue, declarative memory, which is going to be semantic memory, and your episodic memory, also known as imagination and facts, right? So they're able to pivot between that and then serial learning, so thinking about things in a sequence of steps, which I don't think we can do. So that's my working theory on that. I can give you a whole bunch of studies to look into if you're interested. And then I'm applying that in real time to different strategies that we can use to try to get things done. This may also apply to people with certain ADHD issues. I'm not sure. I'm basically using myself as the lab rat, and then anybody else that relates to me might want to try this out. And then, yeah, that's basically it. If you have any clinical experience yourself, if you have any clinicians that you might think would be interested in this, I'm completely open to the clinical realm and interacting with them. For a layperson, I'm pretty literate. And I also generally advocate for lay people working on their literacy, especially in this current era where neuropsychology is moving at a breakneck speed. There's just so much. I would love to be, honestly. But the pathway to that is a little tricky, and eventually I could see that working out, but I have my music career and I really want to pursue that. So what we're currently doing is trying to apply some of these ideas in real time with a peer support model. And I'm seeing, my hypothesis is, can I do some of this music career stuff via developing these tools? Yeah, and so some of these tools I can show you, like, this is what's weird. You know how, like, a lot of famous people, like, that are in entertainment then go on to sell makeup? What I'd like to do is, like, get somewhere with my music, because it is really good, in my opinion, and then, we're already there. Yeah, 100%. A lot of my songs are about that. If you'd like to look, there's a couple of music videos, and I'm working really hard on that career as well. But yeah, so basically I want to, like, make it as a performer, entertainer, person who's speaking about autism through the arts, and then use that platform to make tools and have them be inexpensive or free. So kind of like, yeah, you know how, like, the Kardashians make makeup for some reason or whatever, like that, but with actual tools that can help you is the goal. It's like Spanx for your brain or whatever they're doing. I don't know. Shapewear for your brain. Okay, so let's go ahead and do some conversion of notes. I'm using superimposition, which is another concept that I've come up with. What we also, we also do tracking around ADLs and IADLS. We have a lot of tools that we've developed over the 2-ish years that I've been doing this. And I just moved over from Twitch about a month and a half ago. Twitch was not great because gaming culture is very much the standard of behavior there, and I found that to be not great. So we're over here now, even though it's obviously difficult to get attention. Whatever, though, that's not the point. The point is to develop this without having too much interruptions from jerks. So, in fact, that shouldn't even be something I'm concerned about, but at Twitch it got to be a major concern, so now we're over here. Okay, here's all my puzzle planner notes. Too many. Puzzle planner notes. I'm changing the name of this probably, but they are whiteboards. This was the first version of it. They were basically the size of a standard Post-it note. Then I did a quarter of that, and they're acrylic squares. On some of them I decided to make it, there's a magnet here. I like this version a lot. So I have like a magnet whiteboard in the back. I have like a mobile version. So yeah, but basically this is a non-linear way to dump all of the to-dos that you have. As I think that imposing a linear order is just not going to work for people on the ASD spectrum, because that's going to put your brain into that non-declarative serial working memory issue where it's like basically, let me explain this really quickly actually. This would be useful to explain. One second. Where's my explanation whiteboard? I think it's in here. Yeah. All right, basically, it will be easier to just call it non-declarative memory and declarative memory. There's actually multiple names for it, so it's possible to look this up in different ways. Okay, so lower functioning agency developed communication skills. Yes, I have, and I have my own thoughts on that as well. We can talk about that. So, all right, let me give you. Actually, let me give you a better pen. Let me use one of these. I think this bright one will be better. Okay, so okay. Yeah, that'll be fine. Oh, are we frozen? Shoot, we're frozen. Oh my gosh, you can't see anything. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that was broken. Sorry about that. Let me just go here. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so here we are. So you didn't even get to see this. These are the notes. I'm so sorry. See, I started with post-it note size, which I still use as notes, but they eventually evolved into this with a magnet on the back. And they're acrylic chips. This one has a whiteboardy type sticky on it. This one is just plain without the magnet yet, but yeah. Okay, so I've been working on that, prototyping that. All right, so let me explain that really quickly. So basically let's call this non-declarative memory and then declarative memory. Declarative memory is going to be better at organizing around shapes. So let's say I'm trying to get to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? My brain is going to care a lot about that way of thinking of the number 5. This is a little bit bright, huh? Where's my, I'm trying to fix the lighting. Maybe this is too bright. If I knew where my light was, I have a remote. Okay, well, we may be stuck for now. Oh, here it is. Okay, let me fix this. Sorry, too bright. Yes. Okay, let's go to here. Well, here. Okay, so we're gonna care more about this shape, and they're gonna care more about keeping track of where they are. Let's say step 8. So they'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so if you ask a person with this type of memory, is 4 closer to 5 or is 3 closer to 5? And then I'll talk about the communications after this. So they're like, okay, they're keeping track of where they are in this number line. So they're like, oh, you want me to get to 5, you say. Let me get a better pen. I should just use black on this. Okay, so you want me to get to 5. Oh, well then 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8. Okay, you want me to get to 5. Well then 4 is closer to 5. So they have this way of thinking this way, preferentially or fluidly. For us, I'm suggesting we are thinking about the shape of 5. So 5 things close together, right? And you give us, is 3 closer to 5? Or is 4 closer to 5, right? Well, what if 3 closer to 5 looks like this, and this looks like this? Is 3 closer to 5 or is 4 closer to 5? Well, then we'd say this one is closer. So we're thinking about the shape. To get to this shape, it would be faster, and it's closer to get from here than this one. It'd be easier to make the shape here. So this is a difference in thinking about what you mean when you're using numbers. And I'm saying that a lot of, this is going to be non-declarative memory people, use this sort of metaphorical relationship of moving through a number line, moving through steps, and this is their perception of time and all these other things. That is going to be different in somebody who has to use this area, or preferentially, or just because they're stuck with it. Now, okay, moving into lower functioning ASD, you're talking, do you mean like level 2, 3, or are you thinking more level 3, and are you thinking hyperspatial thinking? Kind of. So basically, like, spatial reasoning is intact, but in an odd way. So, let me grab one of my notes. Where's my notebook? I had a note on this I wanted to look at. One second. So this is abstract reasoning, right? And our short-term memory is not so good. So this would rely on short-term memory to remember where you were and where you're going. So that's holding that in a different region of the brain. This is skipping over to an abstract picture that you care about. The problem is we don't have a good ability to filter out distractions. So as long as we can stay focused on the shape that we're making, we're good. What can mess us up is that we also take in sensory information too much. So let's say like we're working on trying to make 5 and then somebody is screaming over here. The lights are very bright over here. Over here, there's a lot of information of clutter that we can't seem to turn off. So we have issues with distraction. So in real time, our spatial reasoning can be kind of a mess, but abstractly, it's very good. So our abstract reasoning is anchored to the physical reality of being in space, but we need to almost like, you know how autism means to go inside? We almost need to go into our head and create these abstract representations instead. Like that's really strong, so that we don't have to worry about the actual like tasks in front of us overwhelming us. So we go into our heads and work on things. So that the abstractions are stronger for us. So it's like, yes, it's spatial reasoning, but it's kind of like hyper spatial abstract thinking. It's more like that. So yes, it's spatial information, but it's a representation inside of our mind trying to create a really specific relationship. We're good with stats, for example, which is unusual. Okay, so let me get an eraser for this. So the levels. Levels refer to support needs in general, and also I'd rather just grab the explanation. I will say that in general, if you get to level 3, you're going to have a lot more issues with being nonverbal typically, and so they aren't able to express themselves and potentially may have inability to move their bodies at their own bequest, like behest, right? Hold on, let me go get you something though, so we can look at that. Yeah, behest, that's it. I was like, request, why is that turning into 2? Okay, so levels autism. Okay, let's go over here. All right, come over here. All right, so level 1 is where I am. It's requiring support, difficulty initiating social interactions, organization and planning problems can hamper independence. So that's where we're kind of at here. We're talking about the organizational and planning problems. And I'm saying we should convert those over to declarative memory as much as possible so that we don't have to use organizing skills and planning skills that aren't really accessible to our brains, and have less reliance on external tools and more reliance on our internal workings supporting what we're trying to do. So I'm suggesting and proposing a new theory of like learning and doing, especially doing. Okay, so level 2 Substantial support. Social interactions limited to narrow special interests. So these are people that when you try to have a social engagement, they're really not able to pivot away from the topics that they like to model and map out. So their abstract reasoning is very dedicated to the shapes and relationships that they're interested in, and they really don't deviate away from it. You can talk to these people, from my understanding, and I'm working with some people in this area of support needs in my work as an educator. So what you can do is anchor what you want them to think about very strongly to their special interest and help them to build the analogous relationship. You still want them to get to go back to their special interest as much as they feel inclined to, but you let them know that, like, oh, this is very similar to this, and we can access your special interest with this new gateway, this new portal, right? So you can create a relationship between new skills and interests and their special interest, where it becomes a new way for them to access and engage with their special interests. Okay, some interactions limited to narrow special interests, right? Yeah, social interactions are frequent, restricted, repetitive behaviors. So you'll see more, how do I put this? More repetition in motor behaviors. So they could be soothing motor behaviors. So it could be somebody who like simply rocks a lot, but it could be anything where there's a repetitive motor behavior. Their stims may look a little bit more repetitive, but they also could have more abstract motor behaviors that are repetitive. And this could, occasionally also look at like a tic or something like this. So you're looking for somebody where you see them doing the same actions over and over and over again, especially when you're looking at their bodies and you're seeing what they do physically. Sometimes those things can interrupt some of the movements that they'd like to accomplish. So this can create some coordination problems. And then ASD level 3, requiring very substantial support, goes severe deficits in verbal and nonverbal social skills, social and communication skills. So here's where we get people that may have issues with being unable to talk. But they may be able to use technology where they are using touch boards of different kinds to speak and write papers. And a lot of people, their intellectual abilities are actually much more intact than we think, because we're not giving them a way to talk. Great distress, difficulty changing actions or focus. So this is where they're really anchored to the thing that they're doing, and special interest, or even something that's a soothing or stimming behavior. You really got to let them continue on with that, but you can still talk to them. Also, people with level 3, talking about communication skills, what I've read and what I'm interested in is the idea that we should be helping them with movement skills. And that is part of the problem, is that they can't get their body and their muscles to do what they would like to in order to facilitate better communication. So their bodies are doing more locked in behaviors or repetitive behaviors, and they can't do much in the way of directing their body. So I personally am interested in supporting those people with movement skills and training. Granted, I have a bias because I was a dancer professionally, and I've geeked out on movement a lot, but I think that would be important. And there's a couple of things I can pass on that I have found interesting from those in like the level 3, saying that they didn't really have huge progress until they started doing more physical therapy. So that's my opinion, but it's sort of like a novel opinion. It's newer. So I think that developing communication skills, we're going about it in the wrong way. Level 2, only able to focus on and talk about special interests, loses focus in conversations very easily. Yeah, I think repetition is incredibly important for autistic people, and even just reminding somebody, this is what we're doing. You can also look into something called errorless learning. Errorless teaching is an instructional strategy that ensures children always respond correctly. As each skill is taught, children are provided with a prompt or cue immediately following an instruction. I don't like hand over hand from where you're like, do this. You put hand under hand and you're like, guide my hand to do it. That can be helpful to keep the person focused. So what you're working on is giving people a prompt and giving them a technique and showing them and then doing it repeatedly. And if they need to soothe in between efforts, that's totally great. But what you're working for is more repetition. If there is a motor component to what you want the person to do, adding that in. And if the conversation is something that is interesting to the person, at times you might want to mind why they sometimes are following the conversation and anchor it probably to the special interest. So I don't think it's bad for an autistic person to ultimately have the special interest be the anchor, as long as we can cultivate their abstract thinking so that they can see, I was talking about the patterns. They can see more easily that the pattern that you're suggesting for them is analogous to their special interest. So let's say I'm interested in movement and will represent movement with this pattern. This means something about movement that I'm interested in. And it may be physics, right? Like ultimately, let's pretend that this shape means physics. Okay. So then you're talking to me about something that you want me to be interested in. Okay, give me an example actually. Give me an example. It can be anything. It can be what you were talking to this person to and they weren't able to focus in on the conversational topic of the people around them. And I'll explain how this abstraction can help the person to take an interest. It will be weird, but you can also have that be listening. Okay, great. So if I'm interested in physics and you want me to work on listening, I can think about physics of listening. So I could look up, how does this work in the brain? And you can get this person to geek out on it. It's like, okay, I know that you like physics. All right, how does the ear work? What are the parts of the ear? How does physics work on the ear? Right? So first you can have them think about the actual mechanical skill in the ear. So you're like, oh, okay, let's look at the cochlea. Why do I know about the cochlea, by the way? Because I know about the cochlea because I have a special interest around music and art and expression, and I've trained in audio engineering because of that. So then I ended up having to learn about the cochlea in my audio engineering class. You see? So I ended up having this as part of I know what this thing looks like. It looks like a little slug, right? So first you can get the person being like, oh wow. So if they liked physics, then they can start thinking about the tiny itty bitty physics of this. And when they're listening, maybe that's what they're thinking about, and that's fine. Now, physics may not be their special interest, right? But it could be something where you, like, what is their special interest? Or your special interest, or whatever, whomever the person is. What is their special interests even? Like, what do we got to work with? I also somewhat disagree with this. We just need an anchor. That's what I'm going to suggest. And then the higher functioning of us end up with anchors that are more easily overlapped on top of what the person actually wants us to do. Anime and revenge? Let's go with anime. Okay, anime and listening. All right. Do they have a good grasp of the plots of the anime? Like, they're able to tell you somewhat? Okay. Because one way to do it would be to say, like, when someone's talking to you, this person may want to visualize more an emphasis on character development. Okay. Oh, that's good. That's good. So the person that they're talking to, you want them to think about them like that's an anime character, and they're trying to figure out the plot and how this person's arc will go forward. So if like I'm saying the shape of the anime and they like the character and they like character development and plot, obviously, because animes have a crap ton of character development, right? Like the characters have huge arcs, right? So if they're talking to somebody and they need to listen to the person, that person's going to have to get interested in the person speaking, is my thinking. So person, IRL, anime, character. You're going to have to get this person into figuring out why a person in real life is as interesting as an anime character. One way you can talk to them about that too is to say, hey, a IRL person made this anime character based on IRL people. So you had an IRL person who made an anime character based on their experiences with other IRL people, right? So then you're like, all these anime characters you like are actually the reflection of a person who really exists, that the creator of the animes met. They may be, many people smushed together to form this character. They may even be a reflection of the person themselves. So all of these anime characters are actually built out of IRL people. That could connect it back to their special interests and make them more interested in listening to people. With politics, that one's a little bit tricky. I think sometimes politics is actually an interest in figuring out why people are mean. Sometimes politics for us can be an interest in wanting to fix people's cruelty and to make people behave kinder and more rationally. So sometimes I would actually knock politics out and get people a little bit more interested in behavior. So for even anime characters, do you see what I'm trying to suggest with anime characters and even with politics is there's a shape underneath the anime that is helping them to orient themselves in the world. And we want to get to that shape and then point out that there's analogous shapes throughout the world that they could pay attention to. For the anime too, they may really like the visuals, right? So when you're listening to somebody, you may want to pay attention to their outfit more. You may want to pay attention to what makes them different, because anime characters have very distinctive clothing and outfits. So maybe they have an interest in people being very distinct. So maybe that's what they can pay attention to when they're listening in IRL, right? And their listening may be a little bit different also. Sometimes we have to look down. So also just notice if there's accommodation issues around being able to take in and process the information. Yeah, comment. And even for me, like with my interest, if I really keep abstracting and say like, what am I really interested in? Oh, I'm interested in people, let me think about this because I really want to consolidate this. I'm interested in people, which they say we're not, but I'm interested in people understanding the world and then moving in agreement with the laws of the universe so that they can do really cool stuff and help each other. I really love when people help each other. I love when people help each other to understand. And understanding that, like, the pattern is, let's make this a representation of that. Like, helping people to understand, okay, that pattern I can find a lot of places, and it helps me to be more engaged. The thing that I will note is when you get an autistic person more engaged, they may give you a lot of feedback about what you're doing wrong. So once they've found that you are also working on the thing that they're interested in, that there's overlap there, they will probably be very motivated to correct mistakes. And please, 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 please do not shut that down. Like, let them do it. Yeah, this is why we come across as blunt. Yes. So if we're interested, we're going to be more critical. Yeah. But that means you were interested in what she was talking about, right? You wouldn't do that if you didn't care. So us engaged doesn't look as delightful as you might hope. But if people anticipate that us engaged is going to be a lot of feedback and maybe even sometimes a bit overwhelming, they'll anticipate that and they won't be thrown off by it, right? So if the neurotypical person's interacting with us know that we're going to do that, it's not so jarring. Also, you know, if we all know that we're doing it, you can say like, hey, thank you for that feedback. That's interesting. I'll think about that. That can be all that we need, is that you'll think about it. And please mean it. Like, don't dismiss what we're saying. Be like, okay, maybe I don't get that right now. I'll think about that. That gives us enough breathing room to be like, okay, good. Is this helpful? I hope so. And then back to the repetition thing too. So if you know that, if they know that we're working together to listen to people, and you've talked about anime to figure out what they really like, and then you know we're working on the skill together, yes, of course, let me know how it goes. You can start to have, you know, depending on the age of the person too, you can start to have some conversations about like, hey, we're going to work on this listening skills, and when you're tired, we'll take a break. And you may notice that they're tired when they're doing more soothing behaviors. Maybe if they have like a hum, or if they're doing more rocking. And they may be very happy, by the way. They may be very proud of themselves. Those are not bad signs. But if you're noticing them doing some of their repetitive stimming and soothing, they're probably just learning a lot, and they're taking a moment to process it, right? And to let it sort of like recalibrate. Yeah, enjoy, have fun with that. Please update me how it goes. Again, I have Vogel who I can talk to, who's got like 30 years experience. So I just have the experience of being, you know, in the situation that I gave you all the caveats for. Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, it's like for autistic people, it's not that we're not interested in the world. We're just interested in very specific aspects of it. And you'd be surprised how often those aspects really come up. And for an autistic person, we're trying to find out how often they come up. And if you give us a chance to work on that, we're super happy. And, you know, I think it's a net win for all of society, because we do have this interest in making a more concrete model of the times that this thing we're interested in really does come up. And it may be very important for someone to know that it comes up in this specific area that people don't realize it does, because the issue we have right now, we have the internet, right? And it's connecting all of us right now in real time. It's very amazing. But we have a lot of experts that have been working on the same idea and not noticing it because their fields developed in such different manners with different vocabulary and lexicon. So they actually have like a totally different model for the same phenomenon, different wording. So they don't necessarily talk to each other enough yet. So one of the bridges could be autistic people saying like, hey, do you know that you're working on the same thing? And they'll be like, oh shit, we are. And this group, let's say it's like that analogy of like an elephant in the dark. This group has the tail and this group has the trunk. And they know everything about the tail. They know everything about the trunk. They need to talk to each other. So ironically, perhaps, autistic people can eventually become one of the main people that likes to bridge people's interests and get people to talk to each other. So we can be a catalyst for communication between other people and conversations. So it's a weird communication skill, a very specific one, but that's a skill. So autistic people, our special narrow interests might mean that we don't interact with people as regularly, but when we do, it could be super meaningful, a very important connection, right? Where we're like, oh, I work on this one thing and I know that you are working on it and you are working on it. You two should talk. So that's something that can contribute immensely socially. And then your autistic, family member, friend can have a big impact, positive impact socially, without it being this extended sort of interaction, which probably isn't going to be their cup of tea. And then we can feel proud of ourselves. Like if autistic people can have an impact socially that's positive, we're not antisocial, we're pro-social. We'll be very happy and pleased with that, especially when it's something that's attainable to us and not only respects our differences, but is a celebration of it, right? Where it's like, I would only be able to do this because of how I think about special interests. And because I want to spend so much time understanding this one thing at such a deep level that I start to, when I develop this abstract skill of superimposing it, or I'll say overlaying it on different phenomenon and realizing when people are talking about the same thing, I am able to be a catalyst for change that's important. And I'll feel confident it's important because I've spent so much time with this one thing that I love to learn about, that I have like this encyclopedic knowledge. So that's something that I want to encourage people to think, that autistic people have an unusual strength there. And for us to get to be proud of that would be life-changing. And the kind of proud that I think autistic people should strive for is one where we're proud of how we've adapted to our own brain, because we do have impairments, and the impairments range pretty dramatically, as you've seen. Like there's different levels of functioning, but we have since forever found workarounds to get to basic human goals. Like our humanity has to be celebrated. The fact that we still have the same drives as any other person, and that we're so human that we found ways to do it even with a disability, even with an impairment. That drive to express ourselves and our basic humanity has been fulfilled by ourselves, right? That we've been pursuing those most human of qualities and endeavors. But in fact, humans are so resilient and incredible that even when you have an impairment that is very unusual and rare, you're still going for it. And to celebrate all of the wins that we've actually had over our lives that maybe were harder to see because the way that we responded to our impairments meant that we had to try really, really weird strategies to express that basic human drive, right? But that we have been our whole lives. That's so, so important for us to get to be proud about. Yeah. Those are all my thoughts. I hope that that conversation will spark some interesting conversations in your own head and with people that you know. Yes, I am. I love Temple Grandin. Yes. She's awesome. I'm about to read one of her books, too. There's one book that I got started on but didn't finish. I'm going to be doing a little book club with my friend. Let me grab... It's the one that she co-wrote with... I I believe it's either a neuropsychologist or a neuroscientist or a psychologist. Okay, where is it? You know what, I'll just look it up. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Temple Grandin. Her biopic is also just phenomenal. I cried so much. I think it's something like The Autistic Brain. Yeah, The Autistic Brain. This is the one that's like on my to finish. Yeah, the world needs all this. This is one of my favorite TED Talks. If you haven't watched it, I'll just dump it down. You probably have. She's very famous for this one. It's like back from 2010. It has, oh, it just makes me so happy. It has like 6,600,000 views. Ah. She reminds me of my mom and my grandma a little bit too. So, oh, I should mention that. So my parents are almost certainly on the spectrum. They just don't have a diagnosis, so I try to put a caveat there, but they're not interested in getting one, but like, yeah. And I think that's why I was able to develop with some of the supports that I got to have, even though I'm not, well, I just didn't get diagnosed until I was an adult, so. But I had a lot of really good support because my family seems to have a lot of traits, if not, in the case of my parents, even outside of my parents, there's just a lot of stories and a lot of people where it's like, oh wow, I think my family is an autism convention. So that's been also just helpful to have them as reference points in my life. I live with my parents. They're upstairs. Actually, my dad's down the hall. I feel kind of protective of them at this point. But I also am, I want to add, yeah. I definitely have a goal of working on our underemployment and unemployment. Yeah, right? Good stuff. Yeah, right? Our underemployment and unemployment, the issue there is not resolved. It's such a high threshold that it's just, we have to change the odds, not ourselves. We can't beat the odds. We have to change the odds. But yeah, if it wasn't for my parents, I'd be totally screwed because I've never been fully employed or anything like that. So we're still working on that over here. I think it just has to look different for autistic people. And I think we need to, well, there's a lot of things that I'm thinking about that. I just think that needs to be explored more fully, and I'm sort of working on that. But I'm open to a lot of ideas for how do you make an autistic life financially viable without trying to turn this person into an allistic or non-autistic person, because that's never going to happen. Yeah. So, and that's sort of this idea of like, well, we actually do have something to contribute, but it's just got to be cultivated for what it is. You can't try to turn it into something else that's not helpful. And it's just super invalidating of what our brains have been trying to do our whole lives, which is, make good stuff. We're trying to make good stuff as autistic people. 100% very interested in quality. Okay. I'm gonna write out some notes. But yeah, thank you for giving me a shot, Ethan, and hearing me out. You're definitely welcome here. This channel and this effort is something that will grow over time, and I'm hoping ultimately that I can facilitate discussions around what peer support looks like in autism and just create at least one version of it that is helping people to have a better quality of life. Like ultimately, like, the show's purpose thing that's scrolling by, I took that from Mr. Rogers, who I super respect and love. But that's basically what I'm trying to get at, is that thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to get at a way for us to experience something meaningful in our lives as autistic people, but also to contribute to something that other people understand as meaningful. I don't think we should just be off in our own little world. It's not what autistic people want. We want to contribute to the world. It's just that our contributions are different, and to get them to the point where they are, how do I put this? Like, I think autistic people a lot of times already have cultivated that thing that they're interested in to the point where it is meaningful and would make a big contribution. But then it's like, how do you bridge that gap? That's what I'm really interested in. And also saying that we can't bridge the gap all by ourselves. We're the ones with the social impairment. Like, we need people to at least meet us halfway, or at least know that we're trying to get there. You know, we like people and we like the world. Like, we do. We just are having a really hard time figuring out how to get the things we need to work on our projects and then get our projects to you. All right, that's good for today. I'm going to sit down and work on my journaling using my superimposition thing. Have a great day. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, 8 to 9, well, 9:45, 10-ish. I'm trying to think if there's any issues tomorrow that I want to address. Probably 10. Probably take a little bit more time. I missed our discussions in your old Discord. You probably don't remember me. That's cool. No, I remember you. Oh, I remember you. Yes, I do. Yeah, I'm glad to see you again. I thought it was you. You were cool. I'm glad that you're over here. It's better than Twitch. Twitch was garbage. No offense, Twitch. But you are garbage. So, some people like garbage. You're not totally garbage. Like, they're kind of like a garbage can, and at the very top of the garbage can, there's like some cool stuff. But there's like a lot of garbage. So much garbage. Anyways. All right. Have a great day. And if you can come back tomorrow, great. On Sundays, we do housekeep-a-thon, just to push that. That's 12 o'clock to 3. And we have kind of like a podcast sort of vibe during then, where a different neighborhood, I like to call this a neighborhood, not a community. It's a neighborhood. It's like a space. Because I'm basically in your room or wherever you are, I'm with you right now. It's weird, right? And you're with me right now. It's so weird. But we're in a digital neighborhood, a digital space, so that our brain can anchor to like, oh, this is a place that I go to. I'm not like in this nebulous like Borg hive mind. No, you're just in a place for a little while and you can leave if you want, you know, and then you're fine. You are not, you know, enmeshed. Anyways, okay. So yeah, come 12 to 3 if you want to work on space management. I call it space management because we call it time management. Why don't we call it space management instead of creating something called the show Hoarders, which I have a beef with. Okay, that's it. All right, take care. Goodbye.